Welcome to another episode. This is episode 25 of the Homestead Shop Talk with Ben from Hollar Homestead, Al from Lumnah Acres, and myself, Jason from Sow the Land. And today's topic, since we've been getting a bunch of rain, or at least, I know, Al, you got a bunch of rain this year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, currently, over the weekend, we got a bunch of rain in North Carolina where we're at. So we're going to just talk about designing a homestead to be drought resistant and flood resistant. Kind of our thoughts with that. But first, we're going to be talking about our week and seeing what exciting things we got into this week.
So if you hear coughing in the background, I apologize. We have been visited by the plague this past week.
Oh, man.
There's a few people coughing at our last class, and I didn't really think anything of it. And probably, I don't know, within 4 days, I think it was Brett, the middle boy. He went down first, started running a fever, feeling real crummy. And then he was out of it. And then the next one went down, and then Meg got it. Meg was sick on like Thursday and Friday. And it was just one of those, with the fever, it's like fever and a cough and some congestion. It's interesting to see as it works its way through the house. Some of the kids are, like flu-like symptoms, and some of them just want to sleep. I haven't gotten it. I have a pretty big regiment of vitamins and minerals and things that I take, supplements, and I haven't gotten it. I feel fine, knock on wood. But right now it's me and one of the twins, Jack. We're the only two in the house that haven't got it. And I noticed he was kind of looking peaked today, so he might be coming down with it. So we'll see. So far,
who's going to go down first?
Yeah, see if he gets it or if I get it. But yeah, that's kind of what we've been dealing with. While Meg was out, like, she doesn't usually go down like that. Usually she still, even though she feels crummy, she'll still kind of function. Not this one. She was in bed literally from the time she got it until I think Saturday. She lost a full 24 hours right when she got it. So yeah, I was like, I'm glad this hit towards the end of the week. Like, we don't have anything to film. Like, it's actually perfect timing. We got really nothing going on. We were supposed to go to a friend's Christmas party this weekend. It was like, yeah, no, not going to be those people and bring whatever this is. So yeah, we've just been kind of laying low, and just, it's perfect time for it. We had so much rain this weekend. We just sat indoors and watched YouTube and just kind of relaxed and worked on getting over it.
Did you ever get a new winch?
I haven't dealt with any of that. This coming weekend, we're doing our steer, and I keep, sitting here with sick people. It's like, well, I need to go out there and like deal with that winch and see if I can fix it, see if it's something fixable, see if I don't have the box anymore, so I can't take it back. Yeah, we'll see. That's something I got to go deal with. I may just use the tractor for the steer, seeing as it's just one animal, and you don't have to completely pick the animal off the ground while you're processing, eviscerating. So we'll see. I may just use the tractor rather than running around getting a new winch and all that.
You're not going to worry about doing any dunking and scalding or anything either, so.
Yeah, no, you don't really dunk a cow.
Nope.
And actually, it's easier in that way. It's easier to skin a cow than it is to dunk a pig. In that sense.
I think what's nice is, like, honestly, because he's halter broken, we can lead him. I can lead him to where we want to shoot him, and we can, just drop him, and we can do him right there. You don't even have to pick up the animal, especially, I don't have to walk out in the field and shoot him and bring him to the barn. I can just walk him to where we need him, walk him up out of the mud, do him right there, and straight into the cooler he goes. I guess that's one of the positive things about having very handled animals is, you can do stuff like that. I know there's people out there that are going to be like, how could you do that to an animal that trusts you. And it's like, well, it's better than the alternative of him going to a slaughterhouse and getting, kicked around and scared to death. He's not even going to know that it's going on. It's technically, as long as it's a good shot,
What you want.
he won't even realize it. It'll be grass and hay in his mouth and lights out.
He won't even have a bad day that he knows about.
No, that's ideal. That's a good life. Well, I mean, he is the boys on the homestead usually have at least 2 bad days. Because there's the castration that goes on.
So we've been dealing with the plague. I had it last week, and now the girls came down with it this weekend. So.
Oh, you got it too, huh? Is it the same thing? Is it a fever?
I don't know if I ever got a fever, but I had like the sweats and the chills, and yeah, I started like draining my lymphatic system. And when I would wake up in the morning, my whole bed was soaking wet. But I wasn't like sweating. I wasn't having a fever. It's just draining the lymphatic system. It's just getting everything out. It was like pretty intense. It's been mostly my voice and coughing. I've called a few places lately. Like we rented a lift, and I went back today and I called the guy and I was talking with him and he answered the phone. I'm like, oh, you've got it now. And he's like, yep. And he's another state away. He's like 3 hours away. So, it's going around everywhere. It seems like there's like almost every other person we talk to has it right now.
Haven't got it yet.
You haven't, you're lucky. It just, I don't know, for me it lingered. Body aches, cough, sore throat.
I guess it's a season.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds like exactly what's going through our house right now.
We have a natural doctor we use, and I called him up and he was like, oh yeah, that's what's going around. Do this, and this, and it's going to take a while. I'm like, that's not what I want to hear. But besides that, we've been working on the barn, trying to get that. We rented a lift. That went back today. So we were trying to get all the high stuff done, which is kind of working backwards. We get all the upper siding done, which you should start at the bottom and work your way up. But we worked it like from the top halfway down to get all the high stuff done. I wanted to get all my exterior lights up and stuff like that. So that way when the lift went back, I didn't have to worry about getting up high. So we'll see how it goes putting the lower siding on maybe this week. I'm hoping to, but we woke up to 1.75 inches of rain overnight and then changing over to snow. In our road down below where we have a brook, the brook was up over flooding out the fields, and then there's like a couple of like overflows, and that like little low spot of our driveway, it came up over the road, and I've never seen our road flooded out like that before. Not during the springtime, not during the summer when we've had a ton of rain. So
Wow.
I don't know. I'm kind of wondering like how everybody else did, like the places that really got flooded out bad this summer, because we had like I don't know if it's like been like a once in a lifetime rain season this year or what, but there's been a lot of areas that flooded just with like nonstop rain. So it'll be interesting to see.
That's crazy.
I know, and every time I go in the woods are just flooded out because there's no place for the water to go. We're just so saturated. So yeah, it's pretty much our week is just kind of dealing with the crud and trying to work through it at the same time and keep progress going on the homestead.
Yeah.
How's your milk cow going?
The milk cow? It is. The milk cow's going good. We've been having an issue finding a way to get her bred. We don't have a bull. And we're like, oh, she was AI'd before. We bought her. She was like an hour-ish, hour and a half from where we got her. And she was AI'd. We're like, there's dairy farms in the area. We'll just hire somebody to AI her. Well, nobody in the area AIs her because there's like one big dairy farm in the area. They bought up all the little guys and they do all their own AI. So there's no AI techs in the area. So it's kind of like, oh. So now we've been trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's going good. It's going good with her. We're still milking her. So we just got to figure out how to get her bred for next season. But yeah, the calf he's probably what, 8 months old now? Yeah, I think he's about 8 months old. So this time next year, we'll probably be butchering him. We'll be in Ben's position this time next year.
Cool. You plan on doing it yourself, Al?
We do. Yeah, we're looking forward to having the beef in the freezer, the ground beef, the steak. So
yeah,
it's one of those things, like Ben said, it's bittersweet. It's an animal you've raised for a year and a half almost, and you handle them constantly because if you're milking your dairy cow, then you're calf share and you're handling them a couple of times a day, and so you It's not like a pig. Pigs are different. I feel like, you
pigs are
go
way
out there, you
different.
feed them, but you don't really, you
Yeah.
don't form a relationship with them. But so that'll be different. Meat birds, you don't form a relationship
Meat
with.
birds
It's
you don't
8
care
weeks.
about. Yeah,
Something
I
about that
think
bigger animal.
I think the only way it would be worse is if he was like a bottle baby. Uh, I think
Right.
that'd be a lot harder. But he's kind of got a bad attitude sometimes, so it's just like, you know what? I think I can do this. It's still gonna be hard because I'm like the one person that he knows and trusts the most. So it's just kind of like it's a weird feeling.
Ours is that way. He's kind of got like a weird side to him. So he's really great, but then on the other times he just kind of gets under your nerves and just knows how to push your buttons. And so, like you said, that'll kind of make it a little easier.
So this week, I started that high tunnel. So far it's been going pretty good, other than a few rocks that I've hit with the poles. I guess that was bound to happen. I was hoping it wouldn't happen, but it did. And I guess that's what the holdup is. And then the that gas powered pounder though that I have, I mean, man, that thing is my hired help. Like that that is my best friend right now. I'm getting my money's worth off of that thing with the fencing, and then with that, and then with the high tunnel. It's been working really good. I mean, it's not going to bust through rock.
Right.
But so like I had to take a couple poles out after I put them in because the rock was just in the way. It's like, I mean, the way they did the high tunnel was there's like a skinny part, kind of like it's bent part at the end, so that way the arches can slip right over it. So I couldn't just like, if I hit a rock, I can't just like cut it to length.
That's because those pipes are shrunk down. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
They're
it's
specific
hard to.
for that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. We had the same problem when we were pounding all our posts in for ours. Man, don't mushroom them because they won't fit.
Yes. So that's another thing. The gas powered pounder will mushroom them out. Which I was kind of not paying attention. I did like a first few and I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then they did send me like a pounder, like that to help prevent that.
Yep.
And included with the kit. But the thing broke on me because part of it goes into the pipe, and then the other part goes into the pounder. And as I was pounding, it like the skinny part that goes in the pipe broke in half. And the farmer's friend guy saw my video, and he messaged me. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna send you a new pounder," so which is cool, but I'm not gonna get it for like another week.
Man, bring that sucker over. Like, I got a lathe down in the barn. I can whip one up real quick.
Yeah, it's just a solid piece of metal, which is, it's crazy how it broke. I mean, it was just like a solid piece of metal. But so what I ended up doing, which has been working, is I had the cutoff piece that I used because I hit a rock. I had to cut out a little section of the pipe. I've been using that to slip it over, and then pounding that. And that actually works really good. Like, I'm not going to use the other thing that it comes with, because why not just use, like, that's perfect. It was perfect, kind of like it's mushrooming that excess piece, and it's working pretty good so far. So
I wonder if they could make that tapered end on the arch, so that way if you hit a rock on your post, you could cut the post down, and then have it kind of going backwards. I don't know if that's something like you could be like, "Hey, farmers friends, you might want to."
Yeah, I did think about that, like writing a note to myself saying things I would change,
Right?
Because it's gonna happen. You're gonna hit a rock. Like,
We did. We hit plenty of rocks doing ours.
Yeah, it's not a perfect world. You don't have perfect soft grass. Like the other ones I've put in, that's how it was. It didn't have a tapered end because I just made it up myself. And if it didn't go all the way down, you just cut it.
Right.
No big deal. You don't have to take it out and then cut it and then put it back in. I already did one side with the baseboards and everything. So I'm doing the other side now. But I think once I get that in, everything else should go pretty quick.
How long is the greenhouse?
72 feet.
Wow.
By 16 feet wide.
Long. That's a lot of plastic you got to pull.
Yeah. I may call in
heavy.
some reinforcements for that one.
Yeah, you're going to need some reinforcements.
And not do it on a windy day.
Yeah. Just say the word.
Early in the morning.
Yeah, not a windy day. And I was someone has mentioned it to me that I should do it when it was like kind of warm out, because the plastic will stretch better.
Yep.
Versus if it was cold, then it would like get floppy as it heated up or something.
Yeah, but you don't want to do it when what did they tell me when we did ours? It's like a temperature range. You don't want to do it when it's too cold because it won't stretch and it's like shrunk. You want to do it like, I don't know if it's like 60s and 70s because it's warm, it's pliable. But if you do it when it's too warm, then you put it on when it gets cold out, like in the fall and winter, it'll shrink and it can break because it's been stretched so far.
I think it says in the booklet they send you. I want to say that was in there somewhere. But yeah, it's like there's a temperature range.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I got to pay attention to that when I come to it. What else? So with all this rain we've been having this last weekend, I fill up my 1,000-gallon tank filled up.
Nice.
Which before this weekend, I was at 500 gallons.
Wow.
So in 2 days, it filled up to 1,000.
Awesome.
Which
I wonder if it would have filled up from empty if you got that much rain.
I don't think so.
No.
It probably just filled up halfway because it's not overflowing or nothing.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No, it just just enough.
Gotcha.
Like if we had another day of rain, I'm pretty sure it would have overflowed.
Yep.
About that, I guess the next step is trying to figure out. I need to get some like a pipe to it to start using some of that water.
Right.
But a lot of people were concerned of it freezing. Like, oh, what about freezing? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it'll freeze. I don't think it will. It would take a lot.
Have you had your IBC tote freeze?
I mean, the faucet definitely does freeze.
Yeah.
Right.
But the actual water in the tank, I don't think I have. I don't think it has. Maybe like the top part of it.
Yeah, I noticed last December, right at Christmas when we had that cold blast, down at around 9 degrees. Yeah, like you could see the ice was like that thick in it. Yeah, for the people, I'm holding up like, I don't know, 9 inches, something like that. For the people who are just listening, like the ice was pretty thick because you can see through those IBC totes, but yeah, like nothing burst, nothing broke. I suppose if it was like that cold for weeks and weeks and it froze solid, you might have to worry about it, but yeah, it's not that cold here.
No, that's good. There's a reason why we moved here, Al. So I'm excited about that. Like it makes me want to it's kind of addicting saving rainwater because it's so simple, the idea, but unfortunately the tanks cost a fortune. So I can't get carried away about it, but like I want to attach another 1,000-gallon tank right there, but I got to use this one first. I'm going to wait.
You're going to have to get one of those big metal 20,000-gallon ones next.
I know.
Right.
I know. Like, what do we do with all this water? Start drinking it.
We'll need it for the greenhouse.
Yeah, for the greenhouse. Yeah, I'm going to need one for that.
Your dairy cow, once you get her, you should drink lots of water.
I know. All those animals I'm getting this coming up year.
Oh, you said you need more beef cows.
I do.
Yeah. What do they say? A cow drinks 40 gallons a day? Something like that.
Is it 40 gallons? Wow. So I'm excited about that. And then, I think that's about it. We made tamales yesterday.
What is a tamale? I've never had a tamale.
Wow.
Tamale.
Oh, no.
So tamales like so you have like it's like corn, it's like a corn, I guess corn tortilla, but it's the like the dough, and you spread it on corn husk.
Okay.
And then you put a filling of like, say, like we use shredded pork and like usually like some kind of chili or salsa. Some people put cheese, and then you just put it inside the corn husk with that filling, and then you wrap it like kind of like a present, and then you steam it. I've seen people we steamed it, or you can put it in the oven, and then after
Steam
it's
it all
done,
the way.
yeah, and then after it's done, you just unroll it, kind of like a present, and then it's almost like this intact, like I don't know, kind of like not a burrito, but it's like has the filling, and then the corn is all cooked together, and you eat it like that.
Gotcha.
Do you know what
try
masa
it
is?
Yep.
Okay, so it's like the corn portion is just masa. You roll it out, like you put it on your corn husk, and then yeah, it's kind of like a burrito. You put your meat in the middle, you roll the whole thing up in the corn husk, and then close it up and steam it. And when they come out, it's all like congealed into one delicious little like masa and meat. I like hot tamales; those are my favorite. Put some hot peppers, or cook your meat in something spicy, and then oh man, it's tamale season. We usually do tamales around Christmas too. I love tamales.
So it's like a burrito or a taco, but it's like the cooking process that's different more than anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah,
they're kind of their own thing, really. Like they're definitely like I've never seen like a totally Americanized tamale. Like they're very south of the border, awesome cuisine. They're delicious.
So they were big in California. Is that what you're saying?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
Spanish. Like my grandma, I grew up. My grandma always made them. My other grandma made them. I mean, my grandma's from L.A. She's L.A. Mexican, not from Mexico, but she's from L.A. And she made them every year. So we would always make them and help her make them. And then I have family in New Mexico that would make them. So growing up, we'd always even Lorraine's family too. We'd always make them. But ever since we moved out here, it was like no more tamales.
A year-round thing usually.
Usually it's like Christmas time
Okay.
because it's so much work. It's labor intensive. So
It
it's
is
like one of
labor
those things where
intensive.
you just like buy the stuff, you invite family over, and in 1 day or 2 days, whatever, you make a ton of them, and then everyone can take some home.
Gotcha.
That's why it's like once a year type of thing.
Yep.
But so yeah, I figured we'd try it, and we tried it with our pork,
Cool.
and our lard, and came out good.
There was one year me and Meg sat and made tamales, and we made a bunch. Just me and her. I think we probably made like, I don't know, 10 dozen. It was a bunch. And
Yeah.
they wound up too dry. Oh man, that was the biggest letdown because you go through all that work, and then you fill up your steamer pot, and you steam them, you cook them, and then you got to eat that first one, and you open it up, and like the masa was crumbly, and it's just like when you get that dry masa, it's like ash in your mouth. It's just, oh, this is terrible. No amount of sauce can like dress it up. But yeah, after that we figured out is like, okay, like lard is your friend when you're making tamales.
Yes.
Nice greasy meat is actually really good too, because then it like really flavors the masa. But yeah, you don't want no dry tamales.
You guys been getting a lot of lard off of the guinea hogs, Ben?
Oh boy, howdy. You know what? If I think about it tomorrow, I'll walk out in our freezer where we've got all the lard. I think at this
you got a
point,
freezer full of lard.
yeah, like at this point, if I wanted to like fill up a swimming pool and go swimming in lard, I could. Like we're probably nearing 200 pounds of lard. Like there is so much lard at this point.
Is that just from this year, or is that some leftover from last year?
That's just from this year.
Wow.
At this
All
point,
from the guinea hogs, or mostly.
Yeah, mostly from the guinea hogs. Let's see, we're at 5 pigs right now. We still have 2 more to do. So yeah, there's going to be even more lard, but yeah, it's a bunch. It is it is a bunch. I guess it really hadn't set in, and me and Meg went shopping today. We walked down to the barn and picked up some pork, and then walked up to the shed freezer and got some chicken. And when we got in that shed freezer, I didn't realize that was where all the lard had been stashed. And I was like, I opened that freezer, I look in, I was like, holy lard, Batman! Like, this is a bunch of fat.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about the topic. So what do you guys think about it? So designing a homestead to be drought resistant and flood resistant.
So I'll just start with this. So we've had our property for 3 years now. The first year it was a drought, like the driest it's been in a long time. Then the second year it started off dry in the summer, and then it was wet. And then this year it's been like the wettest in probably like 50 years, like the most rain we've ever gotten. So it's kind of like, how do you design a homestead that's resilient for both? That's just like something that's constantly on my mind. So it's like, okay, you want to make sure your land can hold the water for when we get a drought, but you also got to make sure that your land can let the water go, I guess, at the same time, so you're not drowning your animals, or your pasture's not too soggy, so when the animals go out, they're not rutting everything up and getting hoof rot and stuff like that. So it's like, how do you design that?
Well, when you first move to a property, I think it's good to, like, I think it's hard, but I think you'll kind of know over time as you're there, like almost like the land's going to speak to you and be like, okay, this is where you have your problems.
Yeah.
Because right away you're just like, man, what do I do?
I think this is a highly relevant topic for kind of how, like, our summer, our fall for, me and Jason, where we're at, and then, like where you're at, Al, you've had all the rain and we've had none. Like, we've just come out of like 5 months of drought. I mean, we've got, it's not like a California drought like me and Jason have lived with, but I mean, it got kind of hairy there for a little bit. It was like, if we don't see any rain, like, early on in this summer, I don't know why, I just had this weird feeling we were going to have, a lot less rain than we usually did. And so one of the ways we kind of insulated ourselves, against drought was just mulch the heck out of everything. Like, we mulched everything, and mulch works up to a point. But once it gets so dry, you're kind of at a loss, because if it does rain, well, now your mulch is going to soak up all your moisture before it even gets to the ground. And so it's just this weird, this weird place to kind of find yourself. It's like, what is the sweet spot? How much mulch, really the more organic matter you get in your soil, the better water retention you have. I think this is kind of getting into permaculture territory, this topic. Isn't that like the number one rule, is you just observe first? Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that's absolutely the first thing we did. We got here, and, we were talking earlier, the year we got here was one of the wettest years they've had around here, just like you were saying, like wettest in like 50 years or something like that. We got 80 inches of rain the year we moved here, and we didn't know that was unusual. It was just like, wow, this is a lot of water. Does it rain this much in North Carolina? And people are like, well, yeah, it rains, but usually not this much. And it was just it was crazy, because it was like, there's springs that, since we've been here, we haven't had rain like that. And so these springs have dried up. This summer, the entire, what is this? We're coming into our 5th year here, and the springs that are usually always running, we always have a creek on the property. Well, this year they completely dried up, and they're like dry. The swamp that has always been just a, haven for mosquitoes and frogs and critters, it pretty much completely dried up. There was still a little bit of water at the source of where the spring is, but we watched everything just dry up. So I think I got off track there a little bit. The heavy rain year, it was crazy, because we got to see how the water moves off this property. Well, before we got here, a lot of the dirt work had already been done, and it's just real subtle drainage ditches have been dug all along contour, all across our property, our neighbor's property, to where it catches the water and diverts it, but it slows it down enough to where you don't have massive erosion. And whereas that's kind of cool if, you're just trying to grow grass or something like that. But I guess the hard part is, if we could convert all of these drainage ditches into swales, we could actually catch that water and hold on to it and get it to soak in rather than running off and ultimately leaving. So I don't know. We got into this subject and was like, oh yeah. I got a bunch on this. I love this. This is something we talk about like weekly.
But it's like one of those balancing acts. It's like, how do you?
Yeah.
I guess for us, one of the problems for us is we have really rocky soil. So like we have really good soil, but it's very bony and rocky too. So it's like you can't just go and make contours and swales on our property because it just would take, you would lose so much topsoil and it would take you forever. So it's kind of like, how do you work with what you have? Like I'm always out there observing it and seeing where the water's flowing and how it's, coming and going. But how do you use what we have or make it work better for our advantage, kind of thing. So I'd love to be able to do more swales, but I think that for our property, I think that's pretty much out of the question. I think for a lot of properties in New England, that's out of the question.
It's pretty flat up where you're at.
No.
We're hilly. So how come it's a no-go on swales? Just because of the rocky soil?
Yeah, it would the rocky soil. Like we would lose a lot of the topsoil if we tried digging out and making swales. And I'm not saying we haven't tried doing stuff, but it seems like you lose a lot of the topsoil and it takes you a lot of time for doing all that, if that makes sense.
You have to like dig through rock and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, and big boulders and
tearing up everything while you're building the swales.
Yeah. Once you get down probably 2 to 3 feet, you got really good clay and you don't have much rock, but the first couple of feet, it's like, your rocks like this. We have some rocks that are like the size of a pickup truck, just sitting on the top. So we've moved quite a few of those when we did the house and did some pastures and cleaned up the pastures. We put the big rocks in the edge of the pastures so that way we could get more hay and, be able to grow more grass and pasture. But to be able to contour the land, it would take a lot. But so I'm trying to figure out how to make tons and tons of compost to put out on the pasture. So I know where all the water flows. So it's kind of like, okay, the areas that the water really flows in, like how can we make either contours or just be able to make like a big diaper out of a lot of compost to kind of slow it down that way.
A lot of organic matter.
But then one area where it flows, it's going down to like another level, and that level was cut, and so that area I want to stump, just dig out the roots. Don't go crazy, but I think that area will be really fertile because it goes through one of the cow pastures and one of the areas where we run the chickens, and I think it's all going to settle down there. So that'll be a really fertile area. So I've never had it. This year we've had so much rain. Usually, like you put your meat birds out, and like a week or two later, a couple of weeks later, you'll see like the green. This year we didn't get the green from the chicken manure because it got washed away. They're just like, that's a lot of rain.
Yep.
But there's a few areas where I think it's going. It's going in the forest, and there's one area that we had the pigs in last year. I think it was going down there, and we got the pigs in there. They did some rooting, so now it's time to clean that area up. And I think that'll make a really nice pasture for next year. It's hard because it's a slow process. You just got to observe and kind of pay attention and see what works, and which isn't always easy when you want to go fast.
Amen.
No, I think for me, I want to do the. I think a pond is probably in my future of some sort. But I wanted to do that 1,000-gallon rain tank first. I feel like it was too soon for a pond. I had only been there at the time. I only been there like a year, and I feel like that was way too soon to figure out where I want to do that. I feel like a pond's so permanent, and to figure out where you want it And now that I've been here, almost 2 years now, 2 years next month, I definitely see where all the rain goes. When it gets going pretty good, a creek forms right in the middle of my property.
Oh, wow.
Which I know where it's coming from. It's coming from another property that was clear cut that's next to me, and they basically just ripped up not all, but they're like a good area of ripped up all the wood and the trees, and so it's just dirt, and there's no covering. So all that dirt is washing off into my property and going through my property into the next property when it rains. So I'm thinking like maybe right there would be a good pond, since the rain kind of comes right at that spot. And then there's another area where I'm losing, I guess it's a lot of erosion. It's kind of by my barn. It's like where I'm putting up the fence currently, which I know people in the comments were like, oh, you should build a pond right there. Well, it's kind of like half on my property, half on another property. So it's not like, and it's right by the barn. So it's like, I'm not going to put a pond right by the barn. Right. So now I'm thinking like, what if some kind of French drain I need to put, just to kind of, so that way the soil doesn't escape.
Leave.
Because it's turning into a giant ditch. It's all coming from my big barn. And I think if I had a gutter on that thing and diverted that water a different way, then that would help with some of that erosion. I think that's my first step for me is getting gutters.
I know putting in a French drain is a bunch of work, but man, do they work good once you finally get them in. Like that absolutely will help with water problems. But yeah, I feel you on the rain gutters. It's amazing how much rain gutters, just diverting your drip edges, will stop erosion right around your buildings. I think what's hard, like I know where you're talking about. It's hard on that side of the barn because that's the north side. So it like you can't even plant cover crops down there to kind of hold the soil. Like it's just kind of a weird spot.
Yeah, it's kind of like a funnel almost, because when it rains good, all the water from the entire property comes down in this one point. Like everything comes down. Like that's how everything's sloped into one spot. And it's in that one little corner by the barn. But when we moved in here, like our house didn't even have gutters. And then it rained, and I was like, we had water in our basement. And I was like, man, why is there water in our basement? We had just moved in. I was like, you know what? Let's just put gutters, see what that does. And that alone fixed the problem. Yep. Like we had no water in our basement ever since. I wonder if just putting animals on the land and rotating them, if that over time, that should help.
I totally agree, but it's a slow process.
Yeah.
It is a slow process.
The year we've been having with all the rain, it's like, man, I think it's just that. I think it just takes time. Whether you're putting a bunch of compost down or doing animals or both, it just takes a while to get a lot of organic material in the soil. Doing
the animal rotation, last winter, we parked the cows in a spot where there's never been grass. There's no topsoil. The weeds won't even grow. The only weeds that do grow are poverty weeds, stuff that only grow in messed up soil. I mean, that's what they're called. They're poverty weeds. It means you got poor soil. Well, we parked the cow there and fed, hay right in this spot. We made sure we'd left all the manure, all the hay, all of that, and we just left it. And then, after a month or two, she had churned it all up, tore it all up, manured everywhere. We moved her on out, and I, right at the very start of spring, it was like the end of February, I got my drag out and I drug that thing around. I used the tractor, I smoothed everything out, and then I seeded. I planted cover crop and grass seed. And wouldn't you know it, like this was the first summer there has ever been grass there. It was beautiful. Like it was lush, it was beautiful. And all we did was just add a little bit of organic matter. And one of the benefits that happened just because we were able to get grass to grow there. Once there's grass, there's no more mud running off of this, area. It used to be that spot on the driveway is just mud. And it's because the dirt, the clay washes off where the grass is supposed to be, washes into the driveway, and then covers up all my gravel with clay. Well, once we fixed that, it was interesting to see the gravel change color over the course of the summer. So you can do it in a fairly short amount of time, but it was a bunch of work. Like, it was a bunch of work. Grass seed's not cheap, and I put a bunch of grass seed, a bunch of cover crop. So yeah, you can improve stuff just by doing a little hard work and a bunch of organic matter. I mean, that was like bales and bales of hay that wound up on that part of the yard. So it's amazing to see what just a little bit of organic matter does to stop the runoff.
I think we put down like 12 or 15 round bales of hay this year just for mulch hay in some spots. And then we're parking the cows this winter. It's probably like 100 by 100 area. And I'm curious to see what that area looks like come springtime versus the other areas that we move them around on all summer. So
I bet you it'll be good.
I think so. It'll be interesting. But it's kind of it's a lower spot. So when it's super rainy or muddy right now, we keep them in the paddock. But when it's not, we bring them out. So I'm kind of hoping that it's a lower spot, but hopefully not like super low, but I'm hoping that also it'll help raise it up a little bit so we can keep the water from going there as much.
Are you going to leave them all in one spot all winter?
That's the goal, if we can, depending on how that area stays. We'll be moving them to the barn once the new barn's finished, and if it's really nasty weather out, they'll be staying in the barn for that. But we don't want to leave them inside all the time. We'd rather have them outside during the day and just move them back in at night.
I wonder if it'd be good to move them around and dump a bunch of hay in different spots and then have them hang out there and then move them around into the other spot.
The only hard part about that for us right now is we don't have like a lot of fencing up. So the ground will be frozen most likely if we want to move again. So we won't be able to put any temporary fence posts in anywhere else. If the ground
That's hard. That's stuff we don't have to deal with. It's weird to have to kind of think like, oh yeah, you can't use temporary posts because the ground's frozen. We've never had to deal with that.
Like the area we have, the barn and the workshop, that's all a newer area. And it was just so wet this year. There's a new pasture area we're making. I mean, it came out, I'd say it's 60% grassed in, but it's not like it's native grasses. I didn't have a chance to get down there and drag it and seed it and put some Redmond's grow on it just because it was so muddy this year. So but that was like one of the goals was to get that area fenced in and to have that as an area for this winter, but it never happened. So it's kind of one of those things. It's like you gotta try your hardest, but you kind of also gotta go, okay, that wasn't our fault. Like we can only do what we can do. But yeah, that's the hard part. Is definitely with the winters, you got to try to plan ahead. And if you can't get to it or if something happens, you kind of got to figure out your plans as the weather allows you to. If that makes sense.
Do you think something like an aerator would be helpful? One of those rolling pins that have the spikes on them?
I think our soil would break it with all the rocks.
Really?
Yeah, I'd be afraid that it would have worked. Have you guys tried it with your clay soil?
I haven't tried it.
No.
I did one 2 years ago. My friend Josh has one that I guess like his dad made or his grandpa made or something like that. So it's kind of a homemade jobber, but it's cool. Like it's made for towing behind a little yard tractor or a lawnmower or something. And you can pile it, like it's got a place where you can pile cinder blocks on it. So it'll punch all the way as deep as it can go. And so I drug this thing all over this property. I think it was right when we got our cow. I dragged that thing everywhere. I put down seed. I didn't notice a difference. It spent a lot of time bouncing across the rocks because, we have a lot of clay here. but we do have rocks, and there are portions of the property where there's a lot of rocks, and I could always tell where the rocks were because all of a sudden you feel that thing bouncing behind the lawnmower. It's like, oh, it's a little rocky. But I didn't really notice a difference. The thing that really made a difference for us here was our soil is extremely like low of calcium, I think is what it is. And so you just lime your soil and it fixes a lot of problems right out the gate. And so as soon as I, figured that out and I started putting lime down, all the grass seed that I had been spreading, all of a sudden that starts sprouting. So
nice.
The lime worked better than the aerator.
I'm glad I didn't do it.
If you're going to do it, put the lime down the same time you do your lime first and then do your aerator and then your grass seed and stuff like that.
I think above all, I think just putting animals on the land, that should help it over time. At least you're doing something, you're not just not doing anything or thinking about it. But you put animals on the land and over time, who knows, in 20 years, be perfect.
Yeah, we need to deal with erosion now.
I know.
Right. Now, did you find where the cows went last year, Jason? Have you seen a difference from where you had the beefy boys?
I had them all over. I had them everywhere.
Okay.
There's only 2 of them, so I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. I think having our chickens, you could definitely tell our chickens did a lot because I had them mostly on the bottom half of our property, and that part of the land is way better than the top part of our land.
Yep. How old were the beefy boys when you butchered?
They were, well, according to the guy I bought them from, I got them when they were a year old, and then I had them a year, so they were 2 years old.
You're 2 years old.
They were a small 2 years.
I know. I know. They might have been a year and a half. I don't know.
Right. Weird question for you, Ben. So I know, our calf is only 6 months old, but the mother, she's probably a little over 2 now. And her cow patties are a lot bigger than his. So, at what age do you think, because how old's your calf now? I'm sure that makes a difference for when you're getting them out on pasture and kind of trying to get some organic material down.
So, we let our steer nurse all the way up until we sold our cow. We were unsuccessful in getting that cow AI'd. It was a long, arduous process. We only had one vet, and she would come do the AI, and she was unsuccessful. The last time we did it, we thought it actually worked, because all the signs were right. But then, because we track her heat cycles, look on the calendar, she's probably going to come into heat this week, and sure enough. So that was kind of a bummer. But to answer your question, that calf did not have regular cow plops until he started, until he was weaned. So he was, July was when we got rid of her. He was born in October. So he was almost 2 years old when he finally completely got weaned. He didn't really nurse that often, maybe once a day.
Right.
But he still was nursing, and he still had those, we called them, milk plops, because they're like hard and black, and
they're different.
They're different. But as soon as he started eating nothing but grass and hay and all that, looks like your normal big green cow pie.
Gotcha.
That's not a weird question at all. That's normal for around here.
All right. I was just kind of wondering, the beefy boys. I wonder if they were having the big ones or if they were smaller, like our calf. Because that would kind of make a difference when you got the cows out on pasture if they're younger.
For the people listening, good morning.
Good morning. Have you been looking for any more new animals there, Jason?
I haven't been looking. No, it's always when I'm not looking that I'll get animals. That all of a sudden people tell me they have animals, and when I'm looking for them, that's when I can't find them.
You can't find them.
But I'm hoping to get that. I'm hoping to get that fencing done. That's what I'm really trying to do. Well, the fencing and the greenhouse, I guess. But before I get any other animals, I really want to do that. But who knows? If the opportunity's there, I'll probably get them.
Struggle is
If
real.
it'll be sheep or cows. Oh yeah.
What do you guys want to add next, Ben? Do you guys want to add anything else, or are you content with the pigs and?
You know what? We've talked about it. Like there'll definitely be more lamb in our future because I really have enjoyed having lamb in the freezer. I don't know if we want to raise them or if we'll just, buy some and butcher them kind of situation. But honestly, like I think we're going to look for some beef cow, steer, and we'll just do a steer. Cause this cow we're getting ready to butcher, I'm real curious. I'll know in a week what his hanging weight is, but he's a Jersey. He's a purebred Jersey. So he's not a real beefy kind of guy. He's big because he's 2, but he's not no beef cow, that's for sure.
Have you ever had Jersey meat?
Yeah. The
tasty.
first cow, see, like, I don't know. Maybe the Jersey we got was kind of funky. We bought like half or a quarter when we first got here, and it just had a weird flavor to it. So I don't know if that was Jersey per se, or if it was like bad practice at the processor. I don't know what the deal was. So we'll find out in a couple weeks, a week until we butcher, and then a couple weeks when we finally put him in the freezer.
I think I'd be curious to get a Dexter cows. I would think that would be interesting to raise a couple of those, just to try it.
I'd like to get a beefalo.
A beefalo.
We bought a half a Dexter one year, and it was good. Tastes like beef.
That's a dual breed, right? Milk and
yeah, I think you can milk them. I don't know. I guess I just like the little animals apparently.
You'll have to like some miniature cows.
I know.
Scottish Highlander and
miniature pigs, miniature milk cow, miniature horse. You got snow right there today, Al?
Yeah, we got 2 inches, I'd say. So, I think it's supposed to get some more come the end of the week. So we'll see.
If it was any more colder last night, we definitely would have got snow, but it's just not right.
What was the temperature last night? We were like 35 overnight.
Well, no, if it was colder, but it was like, what was it, 30s?
It was like, I don't know, 35, 36, something like that.
So chilly.
Actually, like, we got this tin roof over our heads, and when I was laying in bed falling asleep, it did sound a little more like snow or, maybe ice hitting the roof rather than just rain. The sound changes. It's, less of a raindrop sound and more of like a tick, tick, tick kind of sound. So I kind of wondered if we were getting some flurries, but it was just, everything was frozen this morning when I got up.
I think that's it. Just kind of food for thought, I guess, just the kind of things to think about when you're trying to figure out your land. And it's not easy. But I think putting animals on it is probably the best thing. If not whatever you can do, I think putting an animal is the best thing you can do. But I appreciate everyone listening and watching the podcast. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy just talking shop, and hopefully you guys get some value as well as you're listening to us. So thank you all for listening and watching, and hopefully everyone has an awesome week, and we'll see you guys next week.
Have a good weekend.
Later.